Hey everybody, welcome back. As I stated in my last video, I was going to do a video on the practical applications of the three polymer lines. So this is what we're going to talk about here. Where would you use them? Now, before I start, I just want to stress something. None of this is carved in stone. If you decide to go and do something else, that's entirely up to you. These videos are purely for information purposes. It's just something I put out to help people who are starting out in the sport because information like this isn't always readily available. Or if it is, it's really technical and confusing to the beginner. So again, it's not carved in stone. If you decide that you don't want to, use these applications the way I'm explaining them, it's no problem. Doesn't hurt me. Okay, just do what you need to do. Whatever floats your boat fills your waders. All right, so let's get down to it. Let's talk about the first line, which is going to be the monofilament. And I do have notes here because there is a lot to, kind of remember. But basically, for the monofilament is really good for top water lures. Now that's your lures that that sit on top of the surface or just underneath. They don't sink. And that's the key there because you don't want top water lures sinking. So you wouldn't use fluorocarbon because of the density. It'll drag the float down, your lure down. So you want something that is almost neutral to the water buoyancy. So this is where monofilament comes into play. Things like poppers and walking baits, that's what I'm talking about. Uh, any lure that sits on the surface, this line will prevent it from sinking the bait down because if it does that and takes it down in the water column, it will affect the swim pattern. They're meant to be on top. Another thing it's really good for are moving baits. This are these baits that move around, and treble hooks. This is because of the stretch in the line. This stretch helps set the hook. It's what was known as forgiveness. All right. It doesn't, when you set the hook, you're less likely to rip the hook out of the fish's mouth. And this is important when you're using trebles. And this is why this line is very good for beginner anglers. It gives them that second chance. Unlike fluorocarbon, if you yank it too hard, you've lost it. Okay. The other thing that mono works very well with is leader material because you know it does sink a bit, but it's also buoyant. So it works really good for top water lures when you're using braid. All right. Although a lot of people will use fluorocarbon when they're using the deeper diving crankbaits, so to keep the visibility down. This will help if you're using braid and you're using top water lures. Braid does float, but the monofilament will give it a bit of density and it will add a bit to the top water lure. It adds to the swim pattern. And also, it helps with the abrasion resistance too. It's very good actually coming around wood obstacles like docks. It just kind of slides off. So there's another advantage to using the monofilament. Okay, and one last thing about monofilament, makes great backing material. Usually when you're using braid, you tie on a backing material so that you can load it onto the spool. Otherwise, the braid just skids around the arbor. You can get backing material to attach to braid to do that, but it's awfully expensive. So one of the things you can do to substitute for the backing material is to use monofilament. You put a wheel on, and a couple of yards of monofilament, attach your braid to the monofilament, and then load your spool. So that's another application that mono has because it's less expensive than using backing. It's also very versatile when it comes to either a casting or a spinning setup. It's good on spinning reels as well as on casting reels, where you're a bit restricted with a fluorocarbon. They're mainly meant for a casting system because the density. Monofilament, you can use it on a spinning or a casting system. Matter of fact, I used to recommend to put monofilament on a casting system when you were learning to use and how to cast with a low profile bait caster. Again, because it's less expensive. And when you tangle up and have to cut chunks out, you're not wasting line and money. Okay, so that's your monofilament. All right, so our next line we're going to look at is the copolymer. Now, as I explained in the other video, just a quick review, copolymer is kind of a combination of monofilament and fluorocarbon. It's actually a filament core with a fluorocarbon coating. So you get the benefit of benefit of both lines. Now, where is the best place to use a copolymer line? Well, it's ideal for fishing around structure because it's less abrasion. It's really good for moving baits because it has moderate stretch. And so you can still use your treble hooks, you can still use your crank and jerk baits and spinner baits. All right. It also has a thinner diameter than mono and certainly than fluorocarbon. So for its strength, its diameter to strength to diameter ratio is excellent. It offers a higher tensile strength for its diameter compared to traditional monofilament. Now, it's really good for trolling. Excellent for trolling because it's really durable. It's quite durable. It's also really good for using bottom bouncers. So where you're using planer boards, fishing for, salmon or trout and things like that, copolymers are very good to use instead of a fluorocarbon or a monofilament. Now, topwater lures is another place that you can use a copolymer. This is due to the near neutral buoyancy and also having a slightly sinking action is sometimes preferred over monofilament. Now, because of this, it makes it a great river line to use in river fishing. It's really good for fishing for salmon and steelhead. It's good for drifting. It's good for trolling in rocky areas. It's really good for bass fishing. And it's excellent for ultralight fishing. I use it all the time in ultralight fishing because you've got that sensitivity. And it for some reason it just works really well with 1/64 ounce jigs, which is what you normally use in ultralight fishing. It's got better cast stability than just simply mono. That's because it's slightly denser, so it gives that little bit of extra weight when you're casting, and that can make a whole difference when you're using it for ultralight fishing. All right. So again, it's got that little bit of buoyancy in it, so you can still use it for top water. You can still use it for crankbaits because it has a bit of stretch to it, but because it's more durable, it's really good in rivers and it's really good for trout and salmon fishing because they're less likely to be spooked. And you can use the smaller jigs with it, which also helps with trout and fishing because, again, they're a very skittish fish. They're less likely to be spooked if you're going to use the copolymer. All right, so there's the uses for the copolymer line. Okay, now we're on to fluorocarbon. What's fluorocarbon good for? Bottom casting, the bottom techniques, the bottom contact techniques, I should say. This is where fluorocarbon works very, very well. I'm talking about your Texas rigs, your Carolina rigs, your shaky heads, and other jigs because it sinks fast, it transmits sensitivity, and resists abrasion from rocks and wood. It's really good in clear water, of course, because of the light refraction index. And so therefore, it's really good also in deep, using it for deep water crank systems, your jerk baits, your deep divers, because it has low stretch, it's dense, it sinks. It's also very good for ice fishing. One of the best lines for ice fishing is fluorocarbon because ice doesn't build up on fluorocarbon like it does on monofilament. And because it's abrasion resistant, you're less likely to scuff it up, get when you catch it on the ice. And it's sensitive. You can't always see what's going on down there underneath the ice. You have to rely on the sensation on your line as to know whether or not the fish are nibbling or you've got a bite. So this is where fluorocarbon comes into play. Excuse me. It's also an excellent leader material. A lot of anglers like using fluorocarbon on braid because braid floats. So when you're not using top water lures and you're using a sinking lure, this is where fluorocarbon can help. It also gives the invisibility aspect where braid is very visible in the water and the fluorocarbon isn't. This allows you to use a combination of braid for the tensile strength of the line, plus the fluorocarbon for the sensitivity and the lack of visibility will help with your fishing there too. All right, so clear water finesse fishing, dynamite stuff. Ultralight fishing, dynamite. For your deep crankbaits, it's very good for that. And bottom contact, when you're using Texas and Carolina rigs, You're making bottom contact. Anything where you're using bottom contact is where you should be using fluorocarbon. All right. So there is the video giving you the basics of when and where to use the 3 polymer lines. Like I said, you do what you want to do, really. I'm just giving the information so that you have an idea when you go fishing and what you're going to be fishing for and how you're going to be fishing. Gives you a heads up on what type of line you may want to consider using for the best results. All right. What you decide to do, that's your decision. I'm just here to give you the information. Anyway, I don't know what I'm going to be doing on the next video. I got to think a little bit there. But until then, I want to thank you for watching and hope you got something out of it. I didn't really confuse you. But until then, guys, thanks a lot and tight lines.